Welcome into the Illini Nation pregame show live from Omaha. Bret Beherns and Derek Piper here getting you set for the NCAA tournament. Derek, we have made it here. I was trying to think. We've been everywhere. You and Andy, Courtney, right? New York City, Piscataway, Penn State. Now you've been to a couple of those, right? Obviously, baby at home. Played a little bit of part in that. But we've been across the country. Minnesota last weekend.
That's right, yeah.
And it all leads to Omaha. Illinois taking on Morehead St, the 14th seeded Eagles, 210 on True TV. Do you know the True TV number, Derek?
I don't know. I'm now dabbling in the streaming service, so you don't have to remember the numbers anymore.
246, I believe. Andy Olson says that's right. 246 on DirecTV. Most of the time, I have no idea where True TV is at until tournament time. All right, let's get it going here as we will be with you for the next 30 minutes or so, getting ready for that 2:10 tip-off. And Derek, I'm just glad we're here, man. Illinois is a 3 seed, 4 straight NCAA tournament appearance, should be 5 in a row. Of course, COVID knocked out 2020. We are witnessing a quote-unquote golden era of Illinois basketball. I know the tournament success hasn't been there. We'll get to that and whether Illinois will punch its ticket to that Sweet 16. But, this has been a lot of good history for Illinois basketball. Let's start there.
At the very least, it's a golden era as far as Big Ten success, to be able to have 3 banners in 4 years and to have the best record over the last 4 seasons still in the Big Ten, given that sample size and just the landing spots in the NCAA tournament you can't argue with. You got a 1 seed, of course, in 2021. You've been in the 4 or 5 range, and a lot of people excited to get that 3 seed this year. So that's where we talk about bites at the apple opportunities and setting yourself up with the best possible path this time of year. You got to then get it done and capitalize on that, play your best basketball at the right time. But as far as the lead up to this week, Illinois basketball, there's really nothing you can complain about or ask for more in terms of Brad Underwood and this tenure. So it is now about taking that next step. It's getting out of this weekend, having a new destination to go after this. Going to need to win 2 games, of course, Morehead State, and then whoever's going to prevail between BYU and Duquesne. Duquesne up at halftime, by the way. I don't know what the score is as of right now, but they had an 8-point lead after the first 20 minutes. So
up 10 right now, Derek, 46-36. With 14-19 in the second half. We're going to be watching that one all along here.
Yeah, riding some momentum off the A-10 championship. So a good defensive team, and they're holding down the Cougars so far. But, this is what everybody wants, is to have a lot to play for here. Start of March Madness. What a glorious day it is, really, from noon until
midnight,
late at night. That games are going all day long. So Illini fans hoping to – I'm sure the tension is high right now. You get the nerves going, and they're hoping for a comfortable win, and they can enjoy the rest of the action and just enjoy that you're at this point, because it took a while to get back to this for Illinois as a program.
Yeah, the 3 seed has not happened very often for Illinois, at least in recent history, Derek. And it does get you on that bottom portion of the bracket. Upsets are going to happen starting today. That's the fun part about all of this. You never know where that path is going to lead you, who you're going to play. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't have picked Duquesne to even be in the tournament, Derek. That's the crazy thing. And then they're 11 seed, and now they're leading BYU by 10 in the second half. This is what makes it so much fun this time of year. If you haven't called in sick today, hope you're watching, on your apps, maybe at work, on your phone, checking it all.
The earbuds in.
Don't they have the boss button, right? You hit the boss button, and then everything goes back to some spreadsheet or something. I think that's right.
I like that.
We are fortunate enough that we get paid to be here and talk about this basketball team that is playing very, very well. 7 of 8 heading into today's game, 210 against Morehead State. And I think that's important. Even the game they lost in there, they had a lead in the second half against Purdue, Derek, who's a 1 seed. I think that momentum is important here. Now, it didn't necessarily translate in 2021. You got a tough Loyola team, but I sure as heck would rather be playing your best basketball of the season right now, which I feel like they are. Do you?
I do, definitely, especially the last 3 halves that we saw in Minneapolis. Second half rally against Nebraska where they outscored them 58-36.
Crazy.
It was a wildly productive offense, and then they actually got some stops against Nebraska to erase what was a 15-point deficit. And then just that full game against Wisconsin was a high-level battle between both sides. I know Wisconsin scored into the 80s, but I think that was a lot more of a credit to A.J. Storr and Chucky Hepburn than maybe Illinois just having a disastrous defense or anything like that. And you look at the month of March alone, You include the road wins at Wisconsin, at Iowa. Illinois picked up 5 quad one wins in March. Yeah. So over about a 2.5 week span leading into Selection Sunday, it allowed you to elevate from a 4 seed up to a 3 seed. So being able to get those wins, being able to continue to be a machine offensively, you've got the hottest player going into the tournament in Terrence Shannon Jr. I don't think that you can argue that coming off of a 34 points per game outing in Minneapolis and what he's been able to do. Obviously, you feel good about what Marcus Damask over the course of the season has provided. And defensively, it's been better, I think, on the whole. There have been still some moments where it's spotty as far as they have some segments in games where they don't get enough stops. They have breakdowns. Yeah. Nebraska put up 50+ in the first half against them. So we'll see if they can be more consistent there, have a little bit more of that nastiness, that edge that Brad is continuing to demand more of. I think you want that early to make sure that Morehead State doesn't settle in and get comfortable. But on the whole, I do feel like Illinois is playing some of their best basketball of the year. And you hope that momentum carries over. I know people are worried about fatigue. Oh, yeah, you played the last game for Selection Sunday. You're playing one of the first games. But in terms of momentum, sometimes it's better to get right back out there and play again. And we'll see if they have it early here today.
All right, so 3 double-digit deficits in Minneapolis. How do you evaluate that? That's not going to probably play very well. Now, it did. It worked out in the Big Ten tournament. You would not like to see that, though, if you're an Illini fan. So how do you evaluate how they got there? And then maybe more importantly, how they erased it. But at the same point, if you could not put yourself in that position, the better, right?
Yeah, you're playing with fire if you continue to do that, obviously. And we know that last year's team, just as far as an inconsistency, where they would have those crazy comebacks in the second half. So sometimes it's not repeatable. You got down, if you look back to the first round game last year, you immediately got down 10 to Arkansas and you weren't able to chip away at that and get back into that game. So if Illinois is going to play with that formula, you're probably going to get beat a lot sooner than you would like. I do look at it differently, though, as far as separating the different instances of it there in Minneapolis. I thought the first two were different than the Wisconsin game. Again, I just give credit to Wisconsin for playing some of their better basketball of the year after obviously a disastrous February and the way that Storr and Hepburn were going. So I didn't worry about Illinois' intensity and engagement in that game. I thought early against Ohio State and Nebraska, really outside of Terrence, and I thought Ty played hard. I thought Dane gave good energy, but some other guys just were out of sorts where they were being too passive or just not aggressive enough with their defense and their energy and their spirit. So I think that has to change. I know Coleman Hawkins gave good answers yesterday about, hey, we were embarrassed last year. We didn't play hard enough last year. So you hope that that's in the back of his mind and really circulating that locker room. Like, we got to go all out. We got to leave it all out there for every time we take the court the rest of the way. So I just think for me, of course, there is execution in there. There's shot making. There's all that stuff. But just from an effort standpoint, I don't want to see anything lacking early, any tentativeness, anything that says, all right, Illinois isn't putting absolutely everything onto the court right now, because if they do that, I think that Morehead State ultimately will wear down and won't be able to hang with the Illini, and this team should go on a run if they have that maximum effort and engagement.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, too, that I took away from it all is you got that positive play from Dane on Friday, right? You've got a better second half from Marcus after he really struggled for the first, 3 halves in Minneapolis. He really came back on strong in that second half. And Terrence was the constant. And I guess if I take anything away from all of it is I'd rather have Terrence be the constant than like the up and down of the other guys, right?
Sure.
So like I view that as, okay, well, as long as Terrence is putting up 25 plus, and look, it was 30 plus last week. Like that bar was elevated even higher. This team is going to be okay. I feel like maybe even this first weekend. Like, I'm pretty high on where this team is at and where they can go. And I ultimately think they will get out of this and get to Boston next week. But like, a lot of that, Derek, is because Terrence is playing at such a high level. Like, he is that much better than any player, I don't know, like here, period, right? In this whole Omaha portion of the tournament. Like, I don't think that's a stretch.
No, it's not, for sure. And he's a guy that can put his team on his back for stretches of a game, and even just to weather a storm to make sure that you might be down 5 instead of 15, that type of thing, and wait around for other guys to get it going. So that's a great value to have. Yeah, the other side of that coin in terms of coming back from those double-digit deficits is that this team is capable of doing that with their offensive firepower. A 10-point lead isn't nearly as much to this squad because You come into today, you're number 2 in the country in offensive efficiency. They can rack it up in a hurry versus another team that maybe 10 feels like 20 if you really struggle to score and you don't have that shot making across the board. So I like that. And look, it's college basketball. There's games. It's a game of runs. You're going to have momentum. You're going to have a team, especially as you go deeper into this tournament and face really talented squads that are going to be able to have a 5-minute stretch where they get hot. And then obviously the other team's going to have to punch back and respond. So I also like, too, with an older group, they have 7 players that have been in a tournament before. That's something that you would have gone a few years back in Brad's tenure, and you got a lot of guys facing the NCAA tournament for the first time. I feel like they'll be more comfortable, even in the second half, even later in games, playing with a deficit, trying to weather a storm of emotions. I feel like one thing that it showed me at the Big Ten tournament is that the blood pressure, the pulse didn't change too much when they faced that deficit. They were calm. They knew they could come back. And yeah, I would be uber confident if I'm in that locker room knowing that we have one of the very, very best players in the country in Terrence Shannon. And if we need him to carry us for a stretch, he can do that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, we are watching scores here all day long. Michigan State beats Mississippi State 69-51. That is the first final here of that first round of the NCAA tournament outside of the first 4. And it is down to a 6-point Duquesne lead, 11:23 left. Of course, Illinois will face either Duquesne or BYU if the Illini are fortunate enough to win here this afternoon, 2:10 on True TV. And we are getting you set for that one. All right, let's get into this Morehead State team a little bit. Co-champions in the regular season of the Ohio Valley Conference. That's playing the likes of Lindenwood, Eastern Illinois University, Western Illinois, some of those teams that are the peripheral schools in Illinois. They won the OVC tournament title to punch their ticket here to the big dance. And the OVC, a one-bid league, this is a different level of basketball, right, from what they are playing in the regular season. Not to say that they don't have good players, but it's just different, right? Like, so how do you evaluate Morehead State, where they're at, what they've done? I take a look at it and say, this is their 4th Big Ten team they're playing this season. They only lost by 1 to Indiana, so they've proven that they can play, but how do you match up and what they bring to the table against Illinois?
If Illinois is at their best or somewhere close, Morehead State will be overmatched. And they don't have the same amount of athleticism and physicality. And I think that Illinois can give them some problems if their defense is engaged and dialed in. Riley Menix is the OVC Player of the Year for Morehead State, a 6'7", 230-pound forward that's skilled and can also try to bully a little bit. I think that if Quincy Guerrier, if Coleman Hawkins are really engaged in turning up the effort defensively, he could have a tougher time. He didn't have a great game playing Indiana. We know Indiana with their size that they have in the front court. And now, admittedly, that's one of the better front courts in the Big Ten with Khalil Ware and Malik Renew. But I do feel like it's a very solid low major team that should have won in Bloomington. They were up 15 with 9 minutes to go. They had a guard, Jordan Lathan, who was going absolutely nuts, had 30 points at that point. Indiana was able to keep him from scoring the rest of the way and allowed them to come back and win by 1 point. But when you do look at some of the other Big Ten teams they played and you throw in another high major in Alabama in their opener, they got blown out. They lost in their opener to Bama 105-73 or something thereabout. They lost by 30 at Purdue, lost by 23 at Penn State. So they were outclassed in some of those games. And I think especially Alabama is comparable in terms of Illinois from a high-powered offense that scores and plays with tempo and those type of things. So I think Illinois can get them in transition. I think that if they're able to get stops, their offense should really be able to have a very good day. It is trying to keep Morehead from making threes. They shoot a lot of them. They've got very quality perimeter shooters out there at the guard spot, and then also Minix can stretch it out from 3 as well. He kind of reminds me a little bit of a low major version of a Joey Hauser, a guy that we saw here recently at Michigan State, who's got a good build to him. He's physical, but he also can make shots. So want to make sure he's not getting in a comfort zone. I think one interesting dynamic, we'll probably dive into this, Illinois on the quickest turn of anybody in the tournament. Morehead State's been sitting it out since the previous weekend. They were the first auto bid into the tournament, so they've had time off, a lot of time to rest up and work on themselves. But is there any rust at play there as well? I think it's going to be very interesting to judge in the early going.
Right, it's been, like you said, 2 weeks essentially. I think it was a Thursday or Friday night.
Oh, it's true. Yeah,
I think it was Friday on the OVC title. That'd be 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Wow.
It's been since they've played, so maybe that means they have more gas, more energy at the beginning. I don't know. We'll have to see. Or maybe that means that they're a little bit cold, right? If Illinois can come out and punch them in the mouth, and if Terrence can get in transition, look, that's the one thing I know that they have not seen. Morehead State,
right?
Is
right.
a Terrence Shannon type in transition of him getting downhill and what he can do, and I can imagine that they might be like, whoa, that guy's a little bit different in that. That rest is a good thing though, because look, I hadn't really thought of that, but Illinois playing Sunday, they don't get back until 9:00, I think, Sunday night, back into Champaign, and then they're on the plane here Tuesday. I don't know. I think I would rather ride that momentum flow.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? You're winning 7 of 8. You're in a groove. You don't have to sit around and think about the games for 2 weeks. I think that's how I would rather play that.
I'm with you. I wouldn't want any extended time off for Terrence the way that he's been playing, get him back on the court. And we saw him yesterday. Now it is just a shoot around and whatnot. But, he was splashing 3 after 3 after 3. I don't know if he missed for like a 5-minute segment of shooting those. So he's locked in and engaged, obviously. But, yeah, I agree with that as far as Illinois. You want to capture some momentum and then get back on the court and ride that again. I know that Brad always pushes back on fatigue and guys being tired when they're 21, 22, 23. Let us media who have to actually drive to these places be the ones that are.
Doesn't he know we're tired?
Yeah, we'll be the ones that are tired. Maybe just a little tired. Some of it self-inflicted sometimes. But anyways, I think that Morehead, of course, that they should be fresh, obviously, having that much time off. But you do wonder about just how sharp they are having 2 weeks without a real game and whatnot. But it's going to be interesting. I don't think Illinois should be dead, should have too much tired legs and whatnot, especially with the emotion and how many guys on this roster, Terrence, Coleman, Damask, Harmon, Guerrier, all in their last dance, their last ride here, and their season's on the line. Like the adrenaline should be pumping at a high clip today.
I would agree with that. All right, down to a 3-point game here. Duquesne leads BYU 52-49 with 7:49, so they're at the under 8 timeout there. How about Akron hanging along with Creighton? Only down 5 at halftime.
Fighting Grosses.
John Gross is there.
Yeah.
And Long Beach State, the 15 seed, up on Arizona with 7:51 left in that first half.
Is Arizona going to be beat by another 15 seed? Last year, Princeton got them. Yeah, I know.
Still early. A whole bunch of games here today, man. Like, this is the fun part is you're scrolling your phone and you just more games. Like, there's games starting here tonight at 9:00.
Love it.
That is so much fun when you've got that amount of games. All right. Before we get into a prediction here, I just want to have a little general talk about the vibes, the feeling. Coleman mentioned it yesterday that he felt the vibes were just not there. He implied that guys quit last year. Well, they did, literally. I mean, Scott Clark quit. And Zachary Perrin quit. Remember
That's
that?
right. Yeah. Yep.
A couple of guys quit the team, right? I got the sense going into last year when we were in Des Moines, it's just like, how much do these guys really want to be here, right? They did offer some fight in that second half against Arkansas, but they got down early. Coleman's comments yesterday, though, at the podium, I thought were interesting because he said out loud what I feel like a lot of people felt, right? That team was just done. This year, I get a different feeling from that. And you mentioned it, the older guys, right? The last dance for a lot of these guys in college. How do you feel about the vibe, about these guys being locked in, coming out ready to play, knowing they got down double digits as much as they did, but knowing they're playing their best basketball of the year?
Yeah, we turned into vibe evaluators last year, and we could tell it was obvious to see that something was off with them, and there was just an inconsistency about them, and just in terms of they would consistently dig themselves into holes and just didn't seem like a very connected group. I know that other players on this team have voiced that here of late, guys like Luke Goody who were in that locker room last season as well. I feel good about the vibes with this team. I think that they're focused. Like we talked about, they're playing some of their better basketball of the year. I think that is certainly very important. And they're saying the right things, and that's important. That's important in terms of Coleman coming out and saying we were embarrassed last year. That was embarrassing for me, and you would imagine a guy like that who's thinking about how he's going to go out in an Illini uniform. Now, I know he has a COVID year. I don't think he's going to utilize that if I were to guess. That he wants to – this is a great chance to make a run. He has a chance to really be remembered as a winner when he leaves Illinois.
No doubt.
I mean,
3 out of 4 titles?
Yeah, being part of
that's incredible.
Of that turnaround. So I felt like they were loose but also focused yesterday. Again, we were vibe checking the whole year. Last year at the shoot around, it just seemed like they were dead. It seemed like they were really
just done, right?
The spirits were dialed down.
That's a good way to put it. The spirits dialed down. Like they just felt like it was the end of the road. Not that they didn't want to be there. I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but just like, hey, look, it's been a long season. We're not that good, and we're ready to just go home.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Checking a box necessarily, right? Like Brad said, he's not just checking a box to get to the Sweet 16. I felt like last year they just checked the box that they had made it there, and that was good enough.
Exactly. Yes. So this year's team, we saw, I know going into the open locker room, Dane and Sincere and Brad playing some Uno, and Brad trash talking when he got that victory, and just again seeing Terrence as focused as he was. I know that around, I talked to some people yesterday, and I know that you do as well. That there, make no mistake, there's a tension about the tournament and making sure this team goes as far as they absolutely can. And I think it's just more so trying to prepare as much as possible. I know there's been some sleepless nights for the staff and trying to get as much film work done on Morehead, but also being ready for whether it's going to be Duquesne or BYU. Oh, by the way, the portal's open. Although I do think that they're far more engaged with this game. They'll deal with the portal later, but they just want to make sure that they are as prepared as possible. But I think the players on the court, we'll see today how the vibes they give off. But right now, I think that they're in a very good headspace and confident and playing very good basketball.
And I think there is a balance there too, Derek, of being loose, right? Like not letting the pressure get to you, the big moment, the big stage of the big dance and all of that. And yet also knowing that like, hey, when it's time to play, it's time to play, right? And it's kind of the sense too of, like a baseball team. I feel like baseball players are very good at like knowing when to turn it on. Locker room, hey, you're chill. Football players a little bit more like, hey, hardcore all the time. I feel like basketball maybe a little bit of a balance in that. Yesterday was the open practice. They knew that it was supposed to be fun, have some loose moments out there. We saw Brad joking with the players on the court, right? Andy had tweeted a video of Brad telling a joke to Terrence and Tim Anderson there. And look, they're just laughing. They're having fun. We didn't see that kind of thing last year. And I think that does positively affect this team. Now, we'll see how they come out today, right? But when it's game time, I feel like this team is going to be ready to go, and we'll see how that translates to the court. Still a three-point game here. 6:26 left, 52-49. Duquesne leading BYU. That would be an upset, and the first one of the day. Arizona back now on a little bit of a run, leading Long Beach State 24-22.
And it would really, sorry to butt in there, but it would really help kind of clear some of the air in terms of all the worry about, did Illinois get a raw deal again in terms of the draw? BYU is ahead of Illinois by one spot in the net ranking. Crazy. So a lot of angst about that Illinois face a team that really shouldn't be on the 6th line. If Duquesne does the deal for them, then you don't have to worry about that.
No doubt about that. That game wrapping up here, and that one's in Omaha. So Illinois will follow that game, 2:10 on True TV. All right, so your bracket so far, did you pick Michigan State?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
So we're 1 for 1. I did as well.
Sweet.
Okay,
yes.
So we don't have to rip it up quite yet. If Arizona loses, that might be the case, just like they did last year. A lot of people had the Wildcats advancing pretty far. All right.
Who'd you pick to win, by the way?
Well, in which bracket? See, this is the problem. You pick a couple different brackets.
Gotcha.
In there.
How about the one you feel the best about?
I don't know. So
McNeese State, you went with?
Yeah, correct. I did pick McNeese to win the first round.
I did too,
One of them. Did you pick Sanford in one of them?
I did.
Okay, see, they were on similar paths here, similar mindsets. I did pick Purdue to win in one of them.
Okay.
And I did not pick UConn. What did you have on our show? I can't remember.
I had Tennessee beating UConn.
Oh, that's right. I struggled with Tennessee a little bit, and just like how to feel about that one.
They did not come in that hot. They lost their last 2 games. They lost their first game in the SEC tournament. So,
but I love Dalton Connect. Like that's the thing that's kind of tough is like, okay, well, if you have one player, right, similar to with Terrence in Illinois, like can that one player carry you? I'm a big believer that one player can. I did pick Houston in the other one.
Okay,
Houston and Purdue.
I like it.
I think when I looked at like the Kin Pom of you got to be in the top 15, I think it is, right? In both offensive and defensive efficiency. There's only 8 teams that were in that. Purdue, Houston, and Marquette, Tennessee, all in those like top 15 of that, offensive and defensive efficiency. And that like never fails either. That's the crazy thing is like the national champion in the last, 15 years, something like that, 10 years, it's all come from being in that top 20, top 15 of the Kin Pom defensive and offensive efficiency. And Illinois.
Look at my analytics guy here.
Dude, I'm just trying to keep up with the with the big guy here. The crazy thing though, Illinois up to number 2, right?
Yeah, on offense.
In KenPom offense, that's the highest it has been in the KenPom era, which dates back to like 2001.
Yeah,
and so the Sweet 16 or the Final Four team, national championship game appearance team in 05, they were right up there at like 3, I believe. The 2021 team was also like number 3, final in KenPom offensive efficiency. So look, this is historic stuff we're watching.
Yeah, the metrics say that this is a more productive offense than the D. Brown, Darren Williams, Luther Head.
Like we always elevate that to like the top.
Unbelievable. And the way that those guys pass, the way that they just had multiple options, I do think it helps with the way that this team gets to the free throw line.
No doubt.
Like Terrence especially, obviously.
And Marcus makes a ton of free throws.
Marcus does as well. The offensive rebounding is a difference. So just I know scoring is up. And look, different eras of basketball. I know that it's hard to compare sometimes. Scoring is up in the NCAA, which Brad has hit on here recently, kind of as he emphasizes even more. You've got to be able to rack up the points to be able to survive in March. It is, though, about getting some key stops. And I think Illinois, especially as we pull it back to today, if they get some of those stops early against Morehead State, make them feel the pressure, that could really put Illinois in a good spot to be comfortable and not have them pressing where sometimes you get the crowd who are not tied to this game, rooting for the underdog. You don't need that going against you early on in this building.
All right, we are watching this game, 55-54 now, Duquesne up 1. We're going to jump off here in the next 5 minutes because I want to go watch this game.
Right, no doubt.
We can't watch here. We're out in the lobby. You can see the March Madness blow up here behind us. And we can't go in with our camera, so we got to be out here in the lobby. And I want to go watch the end of that. So let's get a pick here. Illinois 11.5-point favorites today against Morehead State. Where did you come to with your prediction and what your score will be?
Yeah, I think that Illinois just can't be stopped offensively by Morehead State. It might take a little time to settle into the game. You get the early jitters and whatnot, but I just feel like even on the other side of the ball too, with Illinois' size against Riley Minix, I think that it could be a tougher game for him. And then Jordan Lathan, he had 30 at Indiana. He's probably going to see a lot of Terrence Shannon Jr. in his face today. So I do think the Eagles will hang around. Again, I think they're a decent squad at the low major level. But I have Illinois winning and covering 86-72, 14-point win for the Illini.
Maybe a little testy there.
A little bit.
14, on a cover. I think Illinois is going to come out and score. I think this team is firing at all levels. I think they are ready to go. I think they're on a mission, and I'm going to pick Illinois to hit almost 90, 89 to, let's say, 68.
Big time win.
Yeah, I think it's a statement win for Illinois today. I think they're going to be ready to play. And let's just get your pick here. Is this team making it to Boston next week?
They are. Yeah,
okay.
I wrote the article for Inquirer, and by the way, check that out. Breaking down the path to or through the East region. I have Illinois going to Boston and playing UConn in the Elite Eight.
Okay. All right. You saw that pick as well. Did you change it at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it's still the same.
You're right.
From our preview show we had here yesterday from Omaha Live. Check that out on WCIA.com right now. 30-minute special, all devoted to Illinois basketball. We got Derek's bracket picks on there. You still had some time to change. It's like if you would have made an adjustment, I couldn't have blamed you for that. But the fact that you stayed with it, this man believes. All right. I think they're going to the Sweet 16 as well. Andy, are they going to the Sweet 16?
Yes.
Okay, Andy says as well. So, hey, look, we decided it here. It's got to happen now since all three
I
of us.
really want to go to Boston, so selfish reasons.
Yes, that would be.
Werner's talking about a tour of Fenway. That'd be awesome.
Okay.
I've been there for a game. It's pretty sweet, and just extending this thing out. We haven't covered the Sweet 16.
We have not. Illinois fans haven't seen it in a long time.
We want to check that box.
19 years, man.
Whew, it's been too long. Way too long.
19 years since that national championship game run. All right, you guys got a lot on the site, man. 3 deep here in Omaha.
Yes.
You guys been busy. What else you guys got on the site at Illini Inquirer?
As I mentioned, 3 keys in a pick as always. I have my breakdown of the path through the East. Wagner putting in a lot of work, did a really nice feature on Sincere Harris, thought that was good. And then Warner focusing on the transfers, just their impact, and then just he wrote about the vibes. So the vibes are on, and just kind of the overall feel of this team going into true win or go home mode. So a lot to take in if you're trying to buy some time, kill some nerves before the tip off, and then obviously us three will all be here for post game coverage. Hope to have another game to cover after this, and please let's do that. Let's not do the fallout of an early season, early round loss and whatnot. But excited to be here, and we'll have you covered. I know you guys will as well.
Yep, Andy and I both here as well. Be live at 5 on WCIA 3. We'll have a podcast afterwards, post-game report at 10 o'clock. That'll be up on WCIA.com as well. Andy and I talking to the players. Coach Brett Underwood here as well, and we're looking forward to a great day of basketball. All right, for Derek, I'm Brett, and for Andy behind the camera, thanks so much for watching the WCIA 3, your Illini Nation pregame show, 2:10 tip on True TV. Enjoy the game, everybody, and this first day of March Madness.